Thank you very much for coming today. We're standing outside the Carleton Community Centre, the West Side Food Bank, to make an announcement about our anti-poverty platform. We are very pleased to have a number of measures that are going to really help people who are living in poverty. Because of course, in the short term, the problem for people living in poverty is a lack of income. And so in the short term, the way to address that is to ensure they have more income. It's unacceptable that in New Brunswick we have 11,000 children who are having to live on welfare. And in St. John, the child poverty rate is the highest in the country, matched only by that in Toronto. Not acceptable. We have 24,000 people working on minimum wage with full-time jobs, many of them living in poverty because the wage is not high enough to just pay for their basic needs and the basic needs of their family. So we need to change that. And the Green Party's platform will do so. And we will be able to pay for it by raising corporate income taxes on the large companies to the same level that they pay in Nova Scotia. And that will raise about $64 million annually, and that will cover the costs of what we want to do to put more money in the hands of the poor in this province and in the city so that they can live in dignity and meet their basic needs. And this would include raising social assistance rates to a level comparable to Newfoundland that really would provide the amount of money necessary to meet basic needs. I don't know why the philosophy with social assistance or welfare is to keep people living in desperate situations when we can afford, in our proposal here, to provide enough money so that people can meet and families can meet their basic needs. The same goes for replacing the minimum wage with a living wage. So in other words, everyone who's working full-time should be receiving a living wage. They shouldn't be subsidizing their employers' businesses with their labor living under the poverty line. So over the next 4 years, we would increase the minimum wage to the level where it would become a living wage and immediately ensure that the minimum wage starting right now would change and increase with the rate of inflation, so that people's buying power isn't undermined by inflation, and that's really important. So we would do that. We would also ensure that people who are earning $20,000 or less would pay no income tax. And that means a reduction in revenue to New Brunswick of about $10 million. And as I said, we would compensate with that with our increased rate for corporate income tax. So anyone earning $20,000 or less would pay no provincial income tax whatsoever effectively. And the same thing goes for the new drug plan. We don't want people who are living check to check, say making $25,000 a year or $40,000 as a family, to have to pay the drug premiums under the drug plan. They should be exempted, and we're recommending that. There's a cost to that, of course. The government would lose some revenue, but that will be covered in our proposal. And similarly, we will fund, and this is important, to tackle poverty in the sort of immediate term and in its immediate nature through our schools with meal programs and what I would call wellness programs, but comprehensive programs targeted at our children in our schools, and that would be paid for by a tax on sugar-sweetened drinks. So in a sense, kind of a junk food tax on sugar-sweetened drinks, and that would go directly into helping our young people through our schools with hunger and issues around poverty and wellness. The two other things I'm really excited about is we need to ensure that moms with new babies have access to parental support in terms of parenting skills when they need it and in the way they need it. So we would put new money, $7.7 million, into public health nurses to ensure that the Well Baby program, where public health nurses visit new moms and babies and provide, to the degree that they can, ongoing sort of parental support, parenting support, that is effective. Right now, they are stretched to the limit. They are working really, really hard but they don't have sufficient funds, sufficient nurses to deliver that program well, so that everyone benefits from it when they come home from the hospital, and in an ongoing way in the early months of having a baby at home. So this would make a dramatic change for people to ensure that everyone had access to a public health nurse to provide ongoing parenting support if necessary. And finally, sticking with our theme of children in poverty, we would expand the number of early childhood education centers, which are built now as pilot projects in a number of elementary schools around New Brunswick, and we would expand that out so that ultimately it became the norm, and that early childhood education centers would be available in every elementary school down the road, and that that would be a critical part, and is a critical part of our plan for universal, accessible and affordable childcare, which is absolutely essential for people to have access to if they're going to work and they have children, need a place for their children, to have good quality childcare and early childhood education. So the idea that you can you place your children, your young children, in the school, or maybe they have older siblings in that same school, it gives parents a real sense of security that they're in a good place, a place where they're going to get some educational instruction appropriate to their age, and if they're younger, just good childcare. But they'll be there with their brothers, they'll be there with their sisters, and it makes it much easier in terms of delivering and picking up children. So those are the planks of our program, but we've got to spend the money now, but we also got to make structural change. And I want to turn the podium over to Wayne Dryer, who I didn't introduce at the outset, I realize, but everyone knows Wayne. So Wayne Dryer, who's the a Green Party candidate for St. John Harbour. We're in his riding here. So Wayne, please take it away.
Thank you, Dave. Dave has described some specifics of our platform that will really give expression to the basic principles that we've expressed as a party. Social inclusion and economic inclusion are a key component of the Green Party strategy. We've heard the statistics. I've lived in the Central Peninsula for the last 30 years, and I've seen the faces of the statistics and seen how not having enough income to meet your daily need affects a person's perspective on the future. It shapes their dreams, limits their dreams. What I would like to see through working with the Green Party is to see everybody's dreams have the opportunity to be fulfilled, and through political involvement, we can make sure that everyone is represented in the development of New Brunswick. In our quest for prosperity, we'll devise plans so that not only will those who already have access to the resources benefit, but also those who have been marginalized will see some benefit from the development and the prosperity that we see coming to New Brunswick through the strategy that we put in place.
Thanks, Wayne. We're open to questions.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, thank you very much for coming today. We're standing outside the Carleton Community Centre, the West Side Food Bank, to make an announcement about our anti-poverty platform. We are very pleased to have a number of measures that are going to really help people who are living in poverty. Because of course, in the short term, the problem for people living in poverty is a lack of income. And so in the short term, the way to address that is to ensure receiving a living wage. They